Democratic strategist Scott Levinson and Alexander Wilkes with the American Rising Corporation. Interesting. When I looked at the history of this, Alexander, of course, it's always risky to talk about raising taxes, period. But normally it's okay for Democratic candidates to espouse targeting the rich. To be fair to the senator, what he's saying is, no, more than the rich, but everyone will benefit by expanding that pool.
You know, I will give Bernie Sanders credit for honesty, because a lot of these Democratic candidates are talking about these big ticket spending items, and they're just saying, oh, we'll just tax the rich more to pay for it, when in fact you can't tax the rich enough to pay for these items. So what Bernie Sanders is saying is that now we're going to bring those taxes down to the middle class. And according to a recent study, it's going to be about $20,000 more a family if you want to pay for Medicare for all, if you want to pay for free college tuition. There's going to be a lot of pain felt by middle-class families, and I think that recent reports that show that with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, most people felt like they didn't get a tax cut. I'll blame the Democrats and some of the media on that for the messaging woes there. But what that tells me...
Well, they argue they didn't see enough of it.
Well,
right?
that tells me that people already feel squeezed enough.
But it's, I think, important to have historical perspective here. When the United States was entering its boom years in '49, throughout the 50s, up till 1963, we didn't have a 70% tax rate. We had a 90% tax rate, Neil. So
But he's, again, going beyond just upper income rates.
But we're talking about a year when Honeywell, when JetBlue, when Netflix, when Amazon, when General Motors paid no federal taxes. So there's plenty of room on the $10 million earners who he's targeting at the 70%.
So why not do something that Elizabeth Warren was advocating, go after those companies? If that's the route you're going to take,
and there's no doubt about that's inclusive of others.
Is this suicidal, what he's doing? Whatever the virtues it might have.
I think it's important. There's a big distinction between what he's doing and what Walter Mondale did. There was no good news in what Walter Mondale did. He was playing defense. What Bernie's doing is aspirational.
Where's the good news on that?
I'm sorry. I mean, healthcare for all. Most people who can't afford their own would suggest that healthcare and providing healthcare to Americans is good.
But wait a minute, 150 million Americans, just to be clear, and I'll let Heath, I know you want to finish it, but to be clear, 150 million Americans have private health insurance, and whatever they complain about certain aspects of that, they like it, they don't like it, and they don't want to jettison for something that might be a risk.
But I don't think there's one American who could tell you the true value added to healthcare delivery that insurance companies are giving us.
Yeah, so but if you have it and you don't want to drop it, right?
Have you, if any, I can listen, being a small business owner, I can tell you that having this universal health care and having to in the past pay for that, accommodate for that according to what we had with Obamacare, having to accommodate for that as a small business owner, it was a massive impact on me.
That's why we need to get rid of the insurance companies.
I could not hire people.
You get rid of the insurance companies, you also get rid of the health care that they provide. I understand where you're coming from.
They actually don't provide health care.
People's choices.
Well, they pay for, the instrumental role they have. People get a lot of their, coverage, healthcare coverage through their insurance companies, and they are the ones that Bernie Sanders is saying you don't need them anymore in the quest.
They are the middleman.
All right, fine, but I'm just saying, tell that to a lot of people who are by and large satisfied with what they've got.
And this was even shocking when Kamala Harris said this at the beginning of her presidential campaign.
She dialed it back.
And she had to dial it back because it was just it was the ugly truth of what Medicare for all means. It means you lose your private insurance. And once most Americans heard that, that campaign really had to backpedal in order to rein in the messaging on that, because that is the ugly reality.
Also, if anyone has been treated with some sort of version of Medicare, it's nowhere near the type of service that you get with private insurance.
They didn't think that this would amount to much. That they thought targeting the rich was one thing, expanding it to the degree where you look at the math that you're going to pay for all this, you got to go beyond that limited pool. Do any of you worry that, and especially you're a prominent Democrat here, do you worry that some of the prominent candidates are kissing their chances goodbye?
I mean, do I wonder whether it's a real need for an educational moment for the American public to recognize that if you want to be aspirational, we want to do things like universal health care, it's going to cost money.
Okay, and you think the American people are ready to do that?
I think it's clear that the American people are ready to do that, and I think it's clear that people recognize that if you had a 90%...
The American people confidence surveys, the lowest unemployment rate among key demographic groups, one after another. Do you think they're prepared to interrupt that right now?
I think there are virtually no Americans who recognize that there was a 90% tax rate in our boom
No, but
years.
that's not what I'm asking. Would they interrupt what they enjoy now for what you're envisioning?
Oh, no, I think they would for something better.
I would have to argue against that.
That they wouldn't pay more for something better?
They would definitely not pay something more for something, and this wouldn't necessarily be anything better. I mean, we're talking about, I don't know which Americans you're talking about that would want to pay for this kind of
better health care.
Well, to your point, Neil, what you're saying is that this is going to cause a great economic disruption, and it will. And I think what the president has going for him coming into 2020 is that the economy is doing so well. So when we're talking about disrupting a major sector of the economy ahead of a presidential election where the economy is doing well, they're going to say, wait a
he's
second.
talking about dislocation. I understand what Scott is getting into, but you're jumping the shark here a little bit. Then to go to the degree he is recommending, you usually do that in the middle of some economic crisis.
I do think it's important for leaders to be aspirational. And when every other Western nation has figured out universal health.
Yeah, but America doesn't aspire to other nations.
We
don't need to aspire to other nations.
All right,
We're
guys,
America.
I want to thank you. We've got a lot of news here we're following, including what's going on in Paris on this service that is going on as we speak in Paris. They're still trying to get to the bottom of what happened to the Notre Dame Cathedral and exactly why. Molly Lyon is in Paris, where at least 50 investigators are trying to get to the bottom of it. Molly.